Well, Mark, it's that time of the week, or I guess the time of the bi-weekly time for us, and that is to swing our arms from side to side, and hey-oh, we're going to do the Mario today.
So how about we just start off by saying this episode is not for us. This episode is purely for those of you out there who consider yourself a paisano that might remember the year of 1989. And no, we are not talking about Ghostbusters 2 for those of you who might be clinging to hope that you might be entertained today. Yes, it's true. We're finally talking about something we have referenced for years, which is the Super Mario Super Show.
And this is one where I don't know if anyone was wondering if it would hold up after all these years, but really, I think in 1990, you should have known this one wasn't going to hold up.
It didn't hold. It didn't hold up even back then. I mean, so I will tell a personal story, Joe, as I tend to with these things. And many years ago, when my then girlfriend, now wife, we went into a place called Pre-Played here in Madison, which is unfortunately closed, reopened in a different way. And we were walking through the used DVDs, not even talking Blu-rays, Joe, like actual DVDs.
Actual DVDs.
And yeah, I walked by and saw this very colorful DVD box set, and I went, oh my God, that's the Super Mario Super Show. And of course, my girlfriend and wife, she goes, what is that? I've never even heard of that before. And I was just like, oh, there are some delights that many humans have not consumed, my dear lady. Took that thing home, was all excited. I popped it in, and Joe, it was like I realized my dreams were slipping away the longer I watched it.
Oh my God.
Just wasn't going to happen.
No, it's kind of like, at least you go back and watch the Power Rangers and you're like, hey, this is clearly a show made for kids that's been adapted from a fairly budget show in Japan, and you still have some warm, fond memories and some good fuzzies attached to that. But this just doesn't do that. And to its credit, it tried doing a lot of, I don't know, solid things that were in the 80s. You still kind of had this variety show buzz to it when the show would open up with a live-action Mario and Luigi. And then it would be this kind of this fun little bump where sometimes what they're doing in that live-action part would have something to do with the upcoming cartoon. And other times, just shenanigans. And they bring on guest stars. And by guest stars, they're usually a pro wrestler or someone who I do not want to use the term B star or C-lister or anything like that. But hell, as far as names go, a good name drop, Patrick Dempsey was on the Super Mario Super Show.
Yes.
And he's a pretty solid actor, or a pretty big name. But you'd feel like they would kind of get whoever they was in on the lot that week. Hey, you're here. We're gonna throw you on the Super Mario Super Show and make something happen. And then you get a little actiony cartoon after that. You get some slapstick humor, and it's with a big Nintendo property. Mark, this kind of should have been a banger.
Well, the thing is, when you talk about C-listers, nowadays we consider them C-listers, but the people who were on this show back then, Joe, we had people like Danica McKellar, who everybody had a crush on from our generation. I mean, we had Cyndi Lauper, who appeared on this, as well as Ernie Hudson. I mean, Magic Johnson, for Christ's sake, was on this program at one point. So there were very recognizable people on this. Now, incidental
I would be
celebrities,
remiss to not
Joe.
mention Cassandra Peterson, one Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, or the Night.
Yeah,
I think Dark. Mistress of the Dark, yeah. On there. Yeah. Fantastic time. She's a great entertainer. But yeah, no, just tons of great people on this show.
The craziest part about it, Joe, is that this was one of those really weird things that just managed to work out, because it starred Captain Lou Albano for WWF and WWE fans. He was a very popular manager way back in the day, and he is starring as the titular character Mario. And Danny Wells, who I still am not very familiar with, but he was Luigi, and together they formed this dynamic duo that I mean, there was a factoid that like popped out to me years ago, and it was the fact that these guys, while they're definitely performers, they're not like award-winning actors or anything. You know, they're doing the best they can. But the fact that always popped out was that like the overwhelming majority of this show was ad-libbed. Like you had a basic idea of what Mario and Luigi were going to be doing. Like most of the time, it was like trying to fix something or being asked to fix something, and it just doesn't go according to plan. And yeah, these guys were just they're just flopping around out there doing whatever they could to make that storyline make some sense, Joe.
Which again, as a kid, didn't see it. As an adult, 100% makes sense. It's like, oh yeah, these guys were basically just given vibes to go with, and just said, and do it, and make it happen. And again, like I said, like when I say it loosely has something to do with going on like in the cartoon that they're showing for that episode, other times makes zero sense at all. Do you remember the time that Mario had a robotic girlfriend in the live action portion of these?
Oh yeah.
And then would go on to save and swoon one Princess Peach in the cartoon. They just don't, like, apparently Peach doesn't care that Mario's just out there swinging in the real world.
I mean, Joe, this cartoon, it sounds like I'm struggling to find the words. The words are there. My brain just doesn't know how to organize them. And Joe, this cartoon featured King Koopa and not Bowser, okay? And we're talking about weird things. Like King Koopa, kind of a standard like 80s villain, okay?
Yeah.
For some reason, though, dude loves people licking his feet. He's into a lot of feet-related topics. So the fact that we've got like a little bit of foot fetish going on in 1989, we've got robotic girlfriends, which we're not going to talk about the mechanics of how that works.
Nope.
You know, I don't know if Mario takes a mushroom beforehand. Doesn't really matter.
It's one of those things where like you have enough elements that would add up to like some sort of terrible sexual abuse happening behind the scenes on the show, but because it's mostly a cartoon, it's just fine. It's just weird.
Well, it's like the worst example, Joe, that I can think of when a company wanted to make a TV show and it's purely based on awareness only. Like it's not like we went. I'm sorry to say this. I'm sure like if like surviving members of the writing team or something just happened to stumble upon this episode, stranger things have happened. Okay. It's one of those weird situations, Joe, where like I just can't bring myself to find entertainment value in what happened here, because there was 65 episodes of this show, okay, and Joe, there were some familiar players in the production of this, because we've got Saban, who helped get this thing off the ground. We've got
DiC,
who was pretty much had their hands in everything going on in this era. And then, like I mentioned, you've got a company by the name of Nintendo, who should need no introduction, who purely wanted to do this so that people could recognize their characters more. That's it. That's all it is, Joe.
I mean, it should work. I mean, although this is one of the few things, like I said, it's harder to find something that this man was not in than one he was in, and that is one, Frank, I was the 80s goddamn Welker. I don't think had anything to do with the show. He never had a voice on it, which again, rare that you actually find something this guy's not attached to. And when you look at like, you know, like loose attachment to the video game, of course, like they'll jump like they do in the game. They'll always have the hand up, that fun stuff. You're saving the princess, King Koopa, instead of Bowser, because I think he was King Koopa back in those days. But another thing that like the gaming crowd will remember is that most of the music from this is coming from Super Mario 2, which again is that weird bastard child of the first three Super Mario games, and that it was just a reskinning of Doki Doki Panic for those who really like to deep dive into their video games. And as a sort of like, you know, post-mortem of this show, eventually when shortly after I think it's like in I can't remember if it was 89, maybe 90 is when Super Mario Brothers 3 comes out, that they just kind of stop the show and then they start Super Mario Brothers 3, the cartoon, which I think doesn't even make it as long as this show does. It isn't very well received and doesn't seem to really find its audience. I think Mario just doesn't seem to work as a cartoon until he gets to be a full, feature-length film as a cartoon. And that mark, everything we've touched on so far is only half the weirdness of the show.
Well, okay, so let's clarify something for a moment, though. Yes, there's a lot of Mario content happening here. Yes, it's very jarring that you have like a lot of Super Mario 2 era things happening that are going on, because you get villains like the Mauser, who a lot of people don't even know who the Mauser is, and he's some kind of and he's like a Frenchman in this one.
Why not? Why not have him be French? Yeah. Who doesn't need Bon Voyage in their life?
Yeah, exactly. Incredible. It was literally that kind of... it was that kind of oddness, and I mean, so I did dig into this once again after viewing the DVD box set and developing a whole new, like, just repressed memories, download here. I looked into it, and the writing team for this, Joe, it was like the complete opposite of what you would see in an adaptation nowadays. These folks kind of went like the Witcher route, which caused Henry Cavill to walk off set and be done with it, because the writers didn't know the games at all. They had no clue what was going on at all with the video games. They just like, hey, here's a Bible, which most people who are handed a Bible don't read anyway. And I'm not just making fun of religion. I'm just saying in general. Well, yeah,
it's a lot to read. Religion. It's like 1,000 books put into one. It's a lot there.
Yeah. Nobody wants to hear the story of Mario being crucified and then rising 3 days later. That's not interesting. That's not what kids are going to watch. No. So instead, they just gave him this rough outline, and it's like, yeah, you know what? That makes sense, because Mario does wear a cowboy hat, and he does do some very strange things, and we got feet licking all over the place. So yeah. This is accurate. Why not? Let's go for it.
Yeah.
So it was, yeah. Go ahead.
And to add insult to injury, this whole thing. So if you were a child who enjoyed playing the Super Mario games, and you get this cartoon that has almost nothing to do with the game, other than we've copied and pasted some faces over, and the live action stuff, well, oddly entertaining, where something's usually broken that the plumbers will try and fix, that they inevitably just make worse by the end of the episode.
Always.
They decide that just doing this to this property isn't enough, and we also need to make the people who enjoy The Legend of Zelda cry a little bit. Because wrapped into this whole thing is every once in a while, you're going to get kind of like you think of the old Cartoon Network style, where you've got a half-hour block, but it's actually 2 15-minute segments of a show. You're going to get The Legend of Zelda made into a cartoon as this, and it was done every other Friday on here. And it was meant to be this nice, fun feature, again, taking another very successful Nintendo property, should be a home run. But then they try adding a lot of just 80s movie tropes to the thing, and you just get this princess who is strong-willed, and for some reason we need to put that down in the 80s with a Link who's just going to say,
"Hey, excuse me, princess,"
at least thrice an episode. Which, on that topic of thrice, I haven't seen this in a long time, and I probably should have watched the series before we talked about it, because all of this, by the way, both The Legend of Zelda and the Super Mario Super Show, all on YouTube, free to watch. You can you can marathon this whole thing if you want to hurt yourself or relive the pain, in case you have fond memories and don't believe us that this hurts. You can rewatch all of this, and I'm pretty sure that they mentioned the Triforce several times. It's actually right away in the theme song that we have the Triforce of Wisdom here, and then you've got Ganon, who's got the Triforce of Power, and should he get both of them, he'll rule the world. And that's when they're really hoping and banking on that all of America bad at math. Yeah. Because why do we have this is two things of a Triforce. Yeah, this is why I'll eat the quarter pounder over the A&W third pound burger, because the quarter pounder's bigger, right? Like, what the hell? They didn't even get the Triforce right. It's three things, and like just two. He just needs two. Fuck courage. You got power. You got wisdom. You don't need that other one.
What forever be confusing to me was that if you're one of those kids who survived the regular Super Show, and you got through the 2 live action Mario segments, you got through the disconnected Mario cartoon that frankly was pretty well made. Like I'm not going to judge the actual quality of it. It looks pretty good. But then you stick around for that extra Friday, week 2. Mm-hmm. And if you're like us kids who happen to catch this, suddenly you've got this Zelda cartoon. And it's stunning because when you look at it without the context of the, excuse me, or, I'm a hero, I don't need to be doing maintenance work. It's like once you get just to the trailer and you're watching this, it's got animation style like heavy metal, like it's got this fairly, well drawn, and it looks pretty good. And apparently Zelda's got a dump truck, by the way, because they show you very early on some very well form-fitting pants. This isn't just like 1980s Mark, you're getting kind of pervy. It's like, no. You stick around for that first episode. They knew what they were doing. It takes
when Mark
up like
said this was like heavy metal, he's not talking a music genre. That's a cartoon if you're unaware of it. But again, for the few of you listening to the podcast, we're assuming you're in the nostalgia like thing as us. You know what we're talking about when we say heavy metal style animation. Oh yeah. She's parking that thing somewhere.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm not even joking around. Like I when I watched the first episode again, just to kind of get reacquainted with, Ganon being like a pig man and all that kind of oddity looking stuff. Suddenly, it's like I'm watching this, and she just steps into the screen, and like here it is, just like boom. She's got Christmas hams packed in there, and I'm watching this, and my son walks in, and he goes, "Hey, Dad, what are you watching?" And I'm just like, "Son of a bitch!" It's like, of course you had to walk in at this moment where Zelda has got prime real estate just pointing at me through the television.
Oh my gosh!
And it's like, and they showed this to kids, because it was, like I said, 1989. Like we had plenty of trauma we had to build up to. So, and that being said, yes, it is a very goofy thing, but it was also a concept, Joe, that built on what we were talking about with like brand awareness. Nintendo wanted to do this treatment with like Mario, Zelda. We had Castlevania, Double Dragon, which would eventually get, unfortunately, an Academy Award snubbing of a film. And for those of you who know what I'm talking about, know how sarcastic that is. And like Metroid was supposed to also be featured in this, or at least a version of it, So, yeah, like it's a very strange time because, as you mentioned, there's 3 adaptations of Mario cartoons. We've got this bizarre Zelda outlier just hanging out here, and it only makes it to 13 episodes because even they realized, what have we done? Like what? Yeah, what is this?
Link's kind of a bitch. Like he's annoying. He's whiny. He's like, again, like he's inconvenienced by having to do the whole hero thing throughout this entire thing. And it's just one thing where, like, looking back at like me watching this show, I at least have fond memories of like the Super Mario Super Show part of it. I don't remember liking The Legend of Zelda at all. Like, this was one that, like, I think, like, I'd watch, I remember I'd watch the theme song, and then I'd stop. Because the theme song was at least kicking. It was a little bit of a, it's basically the, I think, like, the Hyrule Field, is what you got going on, for the opening, and they jazzed it up a little bit with some 80s synth, and it's nice. It's likable. And that's all you really have to watch. Because, again, they even screwed up in the theme song.
I was going to say, between both of these cartoon properties, they did make some interesting music out of it that at least doesn't really take you away from what they're trying to accomplish. So, like, the branding totally makes sense. The Super Mario show, of course, that's where the new movie that came out, a couple years ago, that's where they got their commercial rap from, was from, the TV show. So like when I heard that again, and I heard it, in the movie when we're watching it, I'm sitting there doing, once again, the Leo DiCaprio thing, pointing, going like,
There it is.
this was repressed, and now I remember why. And so, they did some decent things with it. Now, giving Link brown hair, I'm pretty sure he has brown hair in this.
He does have brown hair, yeah.
Like, which just to this day, I still, even I knew back then that felt wrong, Joe.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even a big fan of the series at that point in time.
And this is, we mean, as a Zelda franchise fan, like, we will happily take Link with pink hair over being a brunette any day. Like, brunette's just wrong. Don't do that.
It just doesn't work for him. I mean, Joe, there's something else about this series that I was a little turned off by, the Zelda side of it. The wizards in it, it's like they pulled some like weird anti-Semitism thing with it. Like, all the wizards sound like they're Jewish, and I never quite understood it. It was, maybe it's not anti-Semitism, but it's definitely a portrayal where they try to make the wizards sound Jewish. And I never could, like, I thought that was just in there. Like, I just made that up, like, this isn't here. And then when I went back and watched it, it's like, it's there. Why is it here? This doesn't make any sense.
It's just one of those, I don't know, like, it's a thing where someone thinks that like an accent or that dialect just sounds interesting, so they feel like they have to make it the identity of a character, which doesn't make sense at all. Like, I completely get how, like, a voice actor will sometimes, like, have someone in their life that they specifically, like, hey, that person, that's a character. And they'll like, mimic their voice for a part for something, and that works. But when you just kind of like, no, this is very much just a, broad spectrum Jewish stereotype that you're doing here for a voice. Like, I'm just glad that that's as far as they did take it.
It is a very odd thing. It just doesn't make sense. It's very strange, as is the majority of this show. It just doesn't quite add up. And I mean, Joe, obviously I started off coming into this with almost like a deep, disappointing sigh. And I think that's obviously the adult me taking it over. But Joe, the question I want to ask, and it's in the notes, you're going to see this too, which is, what the hell do we do with this now? Like, what do we do with this property, Joe? Like, as it was in '89.
Oh, like, I mean, in an age of reboots and revamps, we leave it alone. We don't do what we're doing with everything else. We don't try and bring it back in the same way. I think we get another, like, Super Mario Brothers movie in the style that it was made. Like, no, this was successful. We can bring Chris Pratt back, and we can make another Mario movie, and it'll do great. And maybe you have a character in there, kind of like what they did with, you had people initially complaining, like, hey, you have a voice actor who does the video game character. Why not just have him in there for, a 2-hour-long movie? Well, because the character voiced it for the video game for 2 hours. Do you want to listen to that for 2 hours? I don't. I would pass on that. But having him as a fun, like, oh, hey, here's a frequent, like, customer at a pizza place, and it's the voice actor. Perfect. Have two characters that look exactly like Lou Albano and Danny Wells. Have them animated in the background doing something. Totally fine. But like, we don't need another, like, Mario and Luigi variety show. This is one where I kind of refused to, like, actually go back and watch episodes before we did this, because I don't want it dead for me. Like, I want it to be okay in the little Joe that's inside me. Because the only thing I will do with every once in a while, like, I'll like make my students watch the ending credits of this show to see the Mario.
You're sick bastard.
1 year they did the Mario on their way out of the classroom. They're like, they danced it all the way out, just swinging their arms from side to side.
It's not even really a dance. It's mostly Lou Albano just in place while the editor moves him around this static screen. And yeah, he's like moving his arms back and forth, but physically he's moving nowhere. And so it's like, yeah, he does, his feet move a little bit, but you can tell it's like, hey guys, we've got about 3.5 feet by about 5.5 feet of green space that we could work with. and you're going to stand in front of that, but do not dare go outside of that 3 foot, width. And so he's doing the damnedest that he can with it, which is so that's kind of where I wanted to take this one, Joe, is that I got to tip my hat to Lou Albano. Mostly because I think the majority of what they tried to do here, I think, was a decent idea. And it only works because of him, because of the fact that he was a, once again, popular wrestling personality at the time. And the WWF had recently gone through some major changes during this period of time as well, where Vince McMahon was just taking over for it. They were trying to figure out ways, how can we cross-promote this with other things? And that's why you've got Cyndi Lauper, who's able to show up in this, because, Lou Albano and her combined forces to do things with WWF. So there is that star power was leveraged for a reason. And it's a peek into what they were trying to do to market professional wrestling, because you've got Sergeant Slaughter showing up in this as well, who I do...
Roddy Piper as well, yeah.
Roddy Piper. But Joe, Sergeant Slaughter follows us on Twitter. He actually follows this program.
Oh, no way.
Believe it or not. Yeah. I don't know how lively he is, but he does follow us.
That's exciting. I'm again fan of the pro wrestling through the 80s, the 90s, and again all the way from the character era through the attitude era. I had fun with it. Not gonna bash that. Absolutely, I think it's cool that he's following us.
I mean, it's one of those just ridiculous pieces of like show lore that we can claim happens, because I remember one day I was just poking around. This is probably like year 2 of the show. And, every now and again you have like a parody account follow you and you're just like, oh, yeah, it's fairly funny, whatever. And then one day, Sergeant Slaughter pops up in the, following us. And I went, I got to look at this, because that looks like the right age for him. It's not like an old photo. It's like, it's a fairly recent photo. Click on it, and sure enough, holy crap, that's Sergeant Slaughter.
That's
now,
him.
To the point, he does follow many thousands of accounts, so it doesn't make us that unique. But it's still... Once again, that's digital dissection lore for you guys. But Joe, okay, we've danced around this topic a little bit. I do feel like we need to be definitive with it. Given what we feel now about this show, and given how we were, this is a long-ass time ago, so looking back at it, well over 35 years, do you think this show was good?
As a kids show, absolutely. It was a great kids show that worked in the 80s. I don't think it'd hold a child audience today. Just because, again, like them inserting some of the like the 80s isms into there, having a little, again, like the cross-content area with the wrestlers coming on, and then having some slapstick humor, having a cartoon, having it all based off of video game characters, that worked great for the 80s. Modern times, I don't think it works. So, like, was it good then? Yes. 64 episodes as a cartoon, actually pretty solid. It's not like you have a few staples like your Transformers and Thundercats that go multiple seasons with over 100 episodes. This only made it half that. But I mean, when you look at a lot of like 80s and 90s cartoons that didn't make it, like they didn't make it 60 episodes before networks started like, nah, we're pulling the plug on this one. It's out. So clearly, at a formula that worked for a very, very short period of time. So again, why I refuse to watch it again? Because I don't need to know that I was a dumb kid watching that show. I have a feeling that's what I was. Don't need that confirmed for me. How about you, Mark? Where's this ending with you?
Well, I can already confirm the point you just made, was that if you do watch this, hoping that you could recapture some of that nostalgia factor and, that suddenly, Joe, the past is going to make this future make sense, that's not going to happen here. You're going to watch this and ask yourself, you're going to have like Godzilla 98 regrets going back and watching this show. And so that's why I'm trying to derive as much meaning as I can from it for other people who don't have to go watch it. And it's not because I hate the efforts of the people involved. I mean, it's one of those classic examples of, I don't hate the people for what they tried to do here. Like you're looking at marketing evolution happening directly in front of you, and that's the very odd sense of clarity I bring to this now, is that you're looking at a World Wide Web driven world with smartphones and all that kind of stuff. Like, this is how they were trying to push this property. And so for me, that's what I can look back to and go, okay, obviously we know this is going to be a time capsule. Nobody's questioning that. Like, it was made for a marketing purpose. It's meant to push the characters as we established. So that's the way I look at it now. I don't look at this as, oh yeah, I'm going to have a great time watching this, and I'm going to walk away with like going, man, that was time well spent. No, absolutely not. This is like,
don't do it.
This is like radiation exposure, Joe. If you touch it too long, if you're in there too long, the damage is it's just irreparable. You can't repair yourself the longer you're exposed to the Super Mario Super Show. So don't risk it. It's not worth it. Okay, there's going to be like a Chernobyl thing on this someday where people are like, yes, there's an exclusion zone around the remaining film that we took of this, but yes, it's like, it's one of those weird oddities that we're just not going to get again. We're not going to get it. This kind of thing is never going to happen again. So peek in for a moment, still keep the door mostly shut, and and I think that's what you're going to get for this. So,
and I think on that warning, we'd like to thank all of you for making it this far and continuing to listen to the Digital Dissection podcast. And if you happen to like this episode, at least half as much as you remember enjoying the Super Mario Super Show, you can find all of our seasons of the show on YouTube, as well as audio versions on your favorite podcasting services.
And as always, your support goes an incredibly long way, but if you can share or like this content, we greatly appreciate it, as it helps us get noticed across our many platforms. As always, pop culture nerds, we do appreciate you for joining us, and until next time, paisanos, keep on dissecting.
Come on, it's time to go do the Mario. Take one step, and then again, let's do the Mario.